I think everyone has noticed that in the modern world, there's a lot more of this, participation about it. No, it's not a competition. When you go to, especially if you go to a lot of like places meant for younger people, it's like there's no more competition. Or it's like it's a competition, but it's like, everyone gets a participation about it. And the true winners are us who get to participate, right? But that's actually bad for everyone because we need competition. Competition is actually extremely good. And some people might say stuff like, but doesn't competition make enemies? We shouldn't make enemies with people. Well, no, it doesn't. I would argue the absolute opposite. Because when you're competing with people, now you want allies. You're like, this guy is really good, this guy, I want them on my team. So you're actually creating alliances. But if there's no competition, there's no point in making an alliance with anyone. There's no point, you can just stay alone because it doesn't matter, nothing matters. You don't even want to win because what's the point of winning when there's no competition? The competition, everyone gets a participation about it. So you don't even need to get good allies. You don't even need to learn to, get people on your team and on your side. But when you have competition and you're like, damn, I gotta really get that gold medal or something. You gotta win. Now you make allies. Now you're like, okay, I need to get better. I need to get the best people on my team instead of the opponent's team. So you're not actually making enemies, you're actually making allies and alliances. And without competition, alliances, like, what's the point of them? And there's so many examples of this in like all of history. You can just look at it. Like, why did people make alliances in history? Like, let's say countries. Because they thought that, hey, we have a common enemy, right? We both want to survive, and there's like some other country that's, competing with us, growing big, and we're like, damn, that's not quite what we want next to our neighbors, so let's make an alliance. So competition makes alliances instead of enemies, even though people say it makes enemies. But in other ways, we need competition because it makes us actually perform at our highest level. If you don't have competition, then it's kind of like doop-de-doop-de-doo. Think about it. If you're not competing for something, it doesn't really matter. Nobody gives it their all. And there's literal studies on this. Like, if you put a person at the 100-meter line and you say, run that way, sprint as fast as you can. And then they go and they sprint. But now if you take them again and you're gonna do it again, but we've got 9 people next to you who are also sprinting there. You're gonna see a difference. They're gonna be faster. You're gonna look at the times and you're gonna be like, when he was running next to other people, he was running faster. Because competition gets the best out of us. Only when we are in a competition do we perform at our absolute capability. And once again, we have real world examples. Think about space. Yeah, it's quite big and grand, but space travel proves that we need competition. Think about it. 50 years ago, we went to the moon. What have we achieved after that? After the competition, the space race ended. No more competition. Now we have everyone's working together. International Space Station. Like, everyone's working together. It's just doop-de-doop-de-doo, shake hands and give hugs, and there's no competition. And it's like, well, we haven't achieved anything great in the past 50 years, basically. And it's like, in the time span that we went from literal zero to the moon, and now from the moon, what have we done in the past 50 years? Like, barely, got a few more satellites in space. Cool, I guess. But like, we haven't gotten anywhere because there is no competition. When there was competition, progress was fast. Now that there is no competition, there is no progress. It's super slow. Even though the technologies that would allow us to develop, space travel and such is much better then the technology we had back then, still somehow we aren't getting anywhere because there is no competition. You see, competition is not only it doesn't only get the best out of us, it also gives us motivation. I mean, have you ever been in a competition and not had to, like, oh, I don't care at all? Like, no. Every time you're competing, you're like, damn, I gotta show that I can do this. I gotta show that I'll win. I'm better than that guy. And whoa, that's bad. You can't think like that. But that's exactly what we need to improve. You need to have that little bit of ego to say, you know what, I'm not gonna lose to that guy. For you to get the maximum performance out of yourself. Because if there is no competition, if there is no opponents, if there is nothing like that, then who really cares? Like, think about it once again. If you go to the gym, do you really push yourself 100%? Like, maybe you push yourself, but I bet if you went there and competed against someone, you would push yourself a bit harder. And so competition is extremely important to not only get us the best out of ourselves, but just to get progress. I mean, all progress in human history has come from competition. Change my mind. Of course, once again, just like we talked about, competition also creates alliances. If you look at wars, it's a competition between which civilization survives. It creates insane incentives to progress and to get better, but it also creates alliances. Hey, I need to work with these people to, create this progress, and so it creates progress and alliances. But if there is nothing like that, then it's like nothing really happens. Everyone's just kind of like, oh, here we are, nothing important. But you need competition. But not only is it bad that we don't have competition, we're teaching people, like if you go to like a school nowadays, they literally teach people to not compete. Even though everything is in a way a competition. And it's like, when you're going for a job, you can't just be like, oh, it's participation of world. There is no participation of world. Like, we're teaching, children that we shouldn't compete. Competition is bad. Yet when they come to the real world, they're like, wait, what? Competition is everywhere. Because when you apply for a job, what do you think you're doing? Well, you're competing against everyone else who applied for that job. It's not like everyone gets the job. And even if you create your own business, now you're competing with other businesses who want to sell ice cream. I mean, just walk into a store and look at how many ice cream there are. You're competing with price, with brand, with taste, with so many things. And it's like, everything is a competition. Everything that you want, someone else wants. You walk into a room and you say, wow, I would really like to have that job position. I bet someone else have the exact same thoughts that you do. Someone else walked into that room and said, you know what, I would like that as well. Whatever it is, whether it be a house on a nice hillside, whether it be that job, a business, whatever. Even like everyday things. Like you walk into a room and you see a really nice coffee mug and you're like, I would like to drink coffee from that. I bet other people are thinking the exact same thing. And so in some way you have to compete against other people in every way. And so instead of teaching people, especially the young people that we are right now teaching that, there is no competition, competition is bad, you shouldn't compete, and everyone should get a participation award. No, we should teach them the reality, which is that competition exists, it's gonna continue to exist, and it's basically everywhere. And competition is in many ways good. It gets you the best. You will only be your best version of yourself if you're competing. Nobody breaks world records if they're not competing against anyone except themselves. Like, I'm just, I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm just, kind of here. Like, you're not gonna do something amazing with that. Like, you have to have that bit, like, you know what, I kind of actually want to beat everyone else. And only then can you. And so we should never think about this as like, oh, competition bad. Competition is amazing. And we should actually, embrace competition. I'm not saying make enemies, I'm not saying go, this, that, but you need to have competition in life. And so, stay competing and understand that everything is a competition. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.